Hello everybody, welcome to episode 7 of Moonshine and Music, the perfect music show. My name is Joe Shelton and I'm your host, and I want to welcome all of you here today. Please don't fast forward today if you usually do that to get the performance, because I want to make sure that you hear the introduction because this is a big episode for us. Also, I have a couple shout outs to make first. I played a couple of weeks ago at a place called Susie's Basement, which is like a house show venue here in Indianapolis. And I had a wonderful experience. It was great to be in that listening room. Susie Sesnick is the person who runs this. And Susie has a Facebook group that's called Susie's Basement. Please go join her group. And then go to any of these shows. If you see who the artists are that are coming up, I think Paul Burris and Will Scott are on the list. Go to those little house shows and those little places and the listening rooms, and you get to hear so much about the artists, and there's like such a cool interaction there in the room as the music goes on, and it's good for both the artists and the fans who want to learn more about them and more about their music. It's sort of like a live version of this show in another way. But with really in-depth and long show, So please go check out Susie's Basement. Secondarily, if you want to see me live and in concert, I am playing the Acoustic Brews Tour this summer, as most of you probably know. And on May 11th and 12th, I will be playing shows. May 11th is in Brownsburg, Indiana at Books and Brews, and May 12th in Lafayette, Indiana at Digby's Pub. If you come to those shows, you're going to see an acoustic program, but we're also going to have my lead guitarist, Todd Blower, there to play along with me and make the show just that much more epic. So please come and join us at one of those venues. If you need the details of any of that, go to my website. It's mrjoeshelton.com, and you can see all the tour information there. Today's show is fantastic. We have an incredible artist. We have a national artist today. Her name is Jennie DeVoe. And if you don't know Jennie DeVoe, you've probably been missing out for quite a long time. She's been a artist with multiple albums, nationally charting albums. She's played on big, giant stages with people like Sting and John Hyatt and Bonnie Raitt. So if you don't know about Jennie, today is your chance to get to meet her, and that's just what this show is about. Sometimes we're going to bring you some of the bigger artists that may already be well known and you may know them greatly, and that's today's show. Other time you may get to learn about a new person who's just started playing and hasn't even got a record out yet. So that's kind of the vibe that we want to bring here. We want to shine the moonshine on the music, and that means sometimes it's the really big artists and sometimes it's the really small ones. But please check out all of them, because we believe that music is the way to people's souls and the way to learn more about our human nature, and so check it all out for all those reasons. We have now this 7th episode. One thing I also want you to know about Jennie DeVoe is that she's a really down-to-earth person in person. Despite doing a lot of big shows and playing with a lot of big people and playing, in very big venues around the country and selling a lot of records, she is still a really cool person who came from Muncie, Indiana, which is also my hometown, and she went to college with me. Full disclosure, she graduated a couple years before me. We both were in the telecommunications department there. But her passion and drive are what I find quite extraordinary. And, working with her on this episode, it's just so pervasive, and it's like a really interesting thing sometimes to see how other people do their music. And that's one of the things that I've kind of gotten out of this show, and especially with this episode, because she has so much passion, and it's very extraordinary. And you're going to get to see that in today's show. And she brought along with her Paul Holdman, who's her songwriting partner and great guitarist, and he's going to perform very well. But he's also in the interview, and you'll get to learn a little bit about him, which I think is exciting as well. There's so much insight to be gained from today's interview, and at the end of the show, just a magnificent performance. The Garage has not seen anything like this so far. I'm sorry, there's no offense to anyone. It's just a really, really, really epic performance today. And I would be very proud to have you come and watch the rest of the show, and then go watch all our back episodes because they're great too. But for now, let's check out my friend Jennie DeVoe right here on Moonshine and Music. All right, welcome to Moonshine and Music. We're here today with Jennie DeVoe and her guitarist, Paul Holdman. Is that correct?
Holdman, yeah. Holdman's.
It's very nice to have you guys here. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us.
So the show Moonshine and Music is geared toward getting people to know the artists up close and personal. So I'm going to ask some questions about how you grew up and all that stuff.
We're really not going to answer anything.
You're not answering.
Oh yeah, okay, we will. All right.
So tell us about where you grew up and.
Well, I grew up in Muncie, and I see that you've got your jar of moonshine here, and had a lot of friends who had a lot of relatives down in Tennessee and Kentucky, and so we are very familiar with moonshine from my little town. But yeah, I had a great childhood in Muncie, Indiana, and ended up staying there and going to Ball State as well, and getting a degree there, which I do nothing with at all.
So I grew up in Muncie also. What schools did you go to?
I went to Little Westview Elementary. I went to McKinley Middle School. I went to Muncie Central, and then I went to Ball State. And then I was a little ahead of you, so I graduated in 92. Yeah.
Yeah, I was 94.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You were a child.
See, I had like the parallel path over at Grissom and Wilson and Southside.
Oh, yeah. I had a bunch of Southside friends. These are my friends who, actually, a lot of the Central people did have the kind of the moonshine connection. But, Muncie's such a small town. It was like learn to entertain yourself. So I think that's where a lot of my imagination came from. Paul's from a super small town in Kentucky, and he used to walk barefoot to school. So he's, talk about small town.
You had the option of going barefoot.
You didn't you?
I think one time I took my shoes off while I was at school because you were allowed to.
Oh, so where in Kentucky? What town?
This was when I lived with my uncle in Madisonville, Kentucky, where I was born. But I just lived there for about a year on his farm, and the school was called Nebo Elementary, and I just remember seeing some kids walking around without their shoes on or sock feet, and I asked the teacher, I said, "Is this an option?" And she said, "Yeah. I mean, there's some kids around here that they're pretty poor and they can't, they can afford shoes, but they like to preserve their shoes, and when we let them walk around, so." Yeah,
I like it.
It was fun. It was nice.
If we had gone barefoot to school in Muncie, we would have been
stabbed.
At least taken out back, right?
Yeah, like what's wrong with you?
My mom would have probably done that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You would have liked it, Jenny.
I would have loved it. And I do still sing barefoot, and it's not just a trying to be groovy thing. It is a thing where I sing better if I am barefoot. And I don't have socks on right now, and we're cold. It's snowy out, and I just think maybe I'm just more one with the ground and have balance better, but I sing better when I'm barefoot.
Well, I've heard that a lot. Do you throw a rug on the stage whenever you
For
sing
sure.
to make sure that you have a spot?
Yes, some dangerous places if not.
Well,
splinters, nails, and also just the grounding effect of electricity being around you is not too bright to do if you don't have a rug.
I being a larger gentleman, have had some experiences with stages being also unbalanced.
Yeah.
Like, I can really, if I step up there and it's okay, then everybody else is going to be all right.
Do they make you go up first?
No, well, I don't think that they do that. But
there's a bass player joke. Do you know the bass player joke?
Oh,
what's the bass player
How do you know if a stage is even? There's drool coming out both sides of the bass player's mouth. And actually, a bass player told me that, so I tell it. Jeff Stone told me that joke, along with some stupid singer jokes. But yeah.
Well, they have there's the bass player and the drummer jokes and the singer jokes.
I like them.
They're a staple of our culture.
Yeah, they don't get old.
So, how old were you when you started playing?
I still don't feel like I play. I mean, I feel like
writing songs and etc.
You know what? I wrote my first real song in 1993. So I moved to Indianapolis, and I had at Ball State tried to convince myself that I would do counseling psychology or something with telecommunications, because that's what my degree's in. And the minute I moved here, it's just like it began again. It's just like, because I did like garage bands and stuff when I was in Muncie, but I just always loved singing more than thinking I was a writer. And the minute I started trying to write songs, it was like, it's just like a world opened up. It's almost like the sky opened up. So I wrote my first song in probably 1993, and it's called Born to Be Bad. We still play it today. And I tried to change it one time at a session in Nashville with a really cool guy who was trying to do some stuff with me. But I've reverted back to the original. It is what it is. And I wrote it with Bonnie Raitt in mind, who I hope one day will sing it. It still holds up. Yes, absolutely.
So is that like, this is a really strange question, and I'm gonna like preface it for a moment. I used to, when I first got out of school, I worked down in Nashville on music videos.
Yeah.
And one of the people that I worked with on one of the first videos was Kathy Mattea. And being a stupid kid, I asked her what her favorite song was, and I got this like diatribe about how it's like selecting one of your kids. However, I personally,
my nose is running. Sorry.
I have favorite songs that are the songs I've written, and so I don't think it's such a weird thing. Is that like your favorite one, like the first one you wrote, or
no? It's not. I'm still trying to achieve that. I feel differently about that. I think I like performing live all the time, like never stopping for 20 years. Is kind of like, I think if songs were like children, you would want your children to move out at some point. So you would abandon them time to time and wait for them to come back to you. And my songs have come back to me in a way that they mean something completely different to me than when I first wrote them. It's really weird. And I have to wait till I can feel good about singing them on stage. So I just kind of go through a thing, and I feel like I'm still trying to hone my craft, get better. I'll start listening to certain genres now, like the You Belong to Me song that We'll Do For You Later is a song that I wrote on piano, and I'm not a great piano player, but I wanted it to be sort of that 50s throwback. When Amy Winehouse came out, I was like, I've always loved that kind of stuff, and had really appreciated when she was around and kind of doing that retro style of, modding it up, but, definitely has an old school feel, some James Bond, some old, stuff like that. But yeah, I kind of go in and out of what means something to me at a certain time in my life. And still feel like I'm trying to achieve the fantastic, wonderful, perfect song. And I tend to get over albums really quickly. Once I'm done with them, they're done. I might not listen to them again for a year.
Like albums that
I've made.
That you've made?
Yeah.
So what about you, Paul? Does that, how do you have ones that are your favorites that you're playing when you're playing with Jennie, or that you've written with her, or?
Yeah, it's usually the ones that we that are fresh, and then I have a little bit of the same thing with songs and albums. I have a tendency to kind of put them aside and not want to like listen to them or revisit them for like kind of. It's usually pretty taxing to me. I don't know why, but to write and to really go in and make a record, and it's taxing in a good way though.
It feels good to make them. Like it's brutal. We've made records together, and it can be like you go to a completely different headspace, and then it's kind of neat to do your few CD release shows, and then it's the song starts evolving from the record, and you're like, oh.
I like when that happens. I like when there's an evolution.
I do too.
You said something to me a long time ago, I never forgot it, and I've always kind of adopted this philosophy as far as songs, is you have to get inside of a song, And I tell my students that, my guitar students that, it's like, if you really want to be hired to play, people want you to play in their band, get inside of the songs. And they always look at me perplexed, and I have to kind of come up with an explanation for that. But to me, it's like, when a song evolves, you play it many times, but you just don't cookie cutter it. You get inside of it and see where else you can take it, and see if it can kind of, give you a different meaning and feeling, if that makes any sense.
It makes good sense. I concur with that. It is definitely, and it is a hard thing to explain, but getting into enjoying it after you've done it for the 100th time means that you're grateful for it, that you're really grateful that you got to write it, that you still appreciate the song. And in that way, maybe it is like it's a kid. To take a song for granted just because you have a show and you have a following and you show up and you're like, yay, everybody, bought a ticket, here we are, and then you just push go. I like nothing more than when I am getting ready to make a record and we have to rehearse what we're getting ready to do, and everybody's a little bit hesitant. It's so wonderful to me because it's never going to be like that again. It just gets washed over so much once people have something in their heads. It can take off on its own, and people tend to go different directions on a stage after they're together on a stage forever and ever and ever. Then that moment is gone. So to remind everybody to get back into the middle of it and just go, we should really be grateful. One person wants to come see us, let alone 10, let alone 100. And if this doesn't mean anything to us, it sure won't touch anybody,
That's so true.
And it can be your song or somebody else's. I have as much feeling in some of my cover songs I'm doing now, one Mercy Now, and then a Patty Griffin song, Up to the Mountain. I'm so in the middle of those right now that I can almost not get through them because they create so much emotion for, what's going on in the world today. And so I always want to, then I can bring that back to my songs and go, you love that so much, do that with your stuff, get back into the middle of it and think while you're going along. Don't think ahead to the next line. You asked me if I ever forget lyrics. If I think ahead to the next line, I'm lost. So I almost have to just open the Rolodex and go, oh, there's the song title, and let it unfold for you too. If you think too far ahead, or you think, oh, I can't wait for a break, or I can't, I can't think like that. So my favorite shows are my scariest shows. When I'm on stage, lights go down, everybody's there, and they're expected to be quiet. When that kind of thing is presented to you, you better know what to do with it. And it's a blessing, and I hope I never take it for granted. I hope it's always there,
Well, as someone who plays in a lot of places where people are having dinner, having them actually quiet and listening is awesome.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? And winning them over is also an art. And so that I don't think will ever go away either. I'm humbled by that forever as well, because I have those too.
Yeah, those the moments when you really feel like they're listening, even if it's like I've played recently and I had like 5 people over here having dinner and the rest of them are having a conversation.
Yeah.
And then suddenly I see a couple of them
look at you,
actually paying attention and kind of singing the chorus to your song that they've never heard until 10 minutes ago.
Right.
Until like you started singing.
Right.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Like if you've got one that's catchy enough that they've caught on to the chorus or whatever, and those are the ones that you want to play over and over.
And there's that little thing between you. There's like a thing, like all of a sudden you're connected to whoever is embracing that. There's a thing that you go right to there and the audience comes right to here, and it's like you can't expect it, so it's almost like you have to work for it every single time. It's
music
joy.
Connects people. That's the best part about music. Not that it sounds good, but it connects people.
Right. You could be flat and pitchy all night long, but if you've got your guard down, once you're vulnerable, that's when it happens. If you go in with any kind of attitude or cockiness or whatever, I mean, it works on you, and it can happen all the time, but you can get reminded at a show, like be vulnerable, like let it down and let them reach you and let you reach them, and don't think ahead to the end of the night. There is something I do always think ahead of, and we've talked about this before, and that is we look forward to Monday in it. But Mondays are no fun if you have not had a joyful experience with your music, because we play, on the weekends all the time. I think I've played so many weekends for the last 25 years, and it's like I don't really have weekends free. And when I do, I really appreciate it. But I really appreciate Mondays when I can think to what was special about the weekend, what was special about a show. So I had one of those on Saturday, which was fun.
Yeah, and you played.
That's why my nose is running. Yeah. Can I have a Kleenex, Brandon? Brandon, can I have a Kleenex right behind you? Right behind you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, put the camera on me.
That's Brandon. That's Brandon.
It's right over here.
I'm so sorry. So sorry.
It's all right. It happens. So you played up at the Muncie Gras.
Yes.
Obviously we record the show and it'll be in a few weeks before it gets out there. But you played in the Muncie Gras.
Yeah.
And you were telling me it was like what?
Super cold.
30 degrees.
Mm-hmm. And we were in a tent, and there was some heat coming in, but then we raised the side of the tent so people could get in and crowd in, and it was so fun. But I was also trying to look cool, so I had like a thin jacket on, and because I did wear my big puffy coat, but Showtime, you can't be puffy coat. You can't be puffy coat girl on stage. I could.
There is no pride when it's 30 degrees. I would have thrown on the biggest, fluffiest, whatever, probably a hat that I could pull down over my face. I mean, it's this brutally cold.
It's since it's hometown, I dropped the puffy coat and kind of got my game face on, and it was super fun. And we were pretty warm on stage. There was some good warm lighting too.
I always dig playing up in Muncie when I go home, and I would think I was there St. Patrick's Day, and it was just really cool playing.
Where were you playing St. Patrick's Day?
A house show, actually.
I love house shows.
Like, I was playing a house show, and there were a bunch of college kids there.
Yeah.
And it was really cool because I hadn't played a college party since like 1994.
Yeah.
And so
was it like a frat party?
No.
Okay.
No, it was just in a normal house. It was actually a benefit for something called Soapbox, which is a zine. Cool. And they were trying to raise money for their zine, and they invited me to come play.
Nice.
And a zine is like this little mini magazine.
Yeah.
And Soapbox highly recommend
That's
it.
kid talk for magazines.
Yeah. But it's like a little home magazine. If you come across a copy of it, it's really cool.
Okay.
They like pass them around from people to people because they only print like 100 copies.
Cool.
So they have like a little thing that you sign inside it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
I don't know if you've ever come across one of those, but it's really interesting.
No, I'm a germphobe now, so I'll probably don't hand me a zine.
Age,
I'm
right?
just kidding. Yeah.
Don't hand you. I don't want to know if it's got 43 signatures on it. Then I'm not touching that.
I'll put a pair of gloves on. No, I have started to get like that because we can't get sick for a show.
Right.
So I'll go to Christmas or Thanksgiving or Easter, and it's like I call ahead and I'm like, is anybody sick? And they're like, well, so-and-so's had a cold. And I'm like, well, okay. So then I know who to kind of like air hug like that.
Do you wear like the mask in?
No, not yet.
You haven't gotten to that yet?
No, but I will.
That's funny. I guess what had happened when you guys were talking about like the songs that, we were talking about favorite songs. But what's your process before you like go in to record one? I think you have I forget how many albums. A lot of them.
10.
10.
I think.
Yeah. I mean, before the show, before you were going to do the show, I thought I think she has like 6 or 7.
I think 6 studio albums.
Yeah.
So Does She Walk on Water and Ta-Da, and then Here on Earth, and then Strange Sunshine,
Fireworks, Karate Supplies,
Radiator, Fireworks, and Karate Supplies. So I think 6.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I think 6, and then 3 live. I said Strange Sunshine, and then like 2 live, 4 live actually now. Yeah, 4. So 5 maybe. I've got a little Christmas CD too that we put together from just different things that I actually really love. And I put a John Hyatt song on there, and I really don't push that because I want to get some artwork made for that one, and then Blue Sky Big Sun record, which is also one of my favorite fantastically released. But I I got to take time to kind of do some of that stuff.
So when you're putting them together and you've written some songs, right before you go into record, do you guys like get together and like rehearse the song like that? Do you go in the studio and try to like work out the structure of what it's going to be?
I'm kind of sneaky. I tend to record, like if I'm like, Paul, I got some ideas, come over, we start writing. I record that, and then I know what parts of those I really like, and then I will structure, verse. I'll kind of structure the song. And Paul just kind of goes on his way, and he might even forget what we did. I mean, but he is, when we're writing, super present. And these guys don't know like the stuff that I capture from them. I like capturing the stuff like that better than if I put the pressure on people. It's just a mind melt when you put pressure on people to go, we're going into the studio, so we got to get together for the week ahead. I know people do that. For me, I felt like my best record ever was Fireworks and Karate Supplies. And there was a lot of stress around it because we were going to England for the first time to work with John Parrish. There was also something really beautifully organic about, we were all pretty unsure. We had never even met John face to face. I'd only started talking to him. So we went over there and we had, it was a really, I took Paul and then I took Brett, and then we built the record without a band, just with John Parrish.
I had to rebuild the songs too.
Yeah, we rebuilt them, and I was playing stuff from my phone, my mini disc recorder on a
John
really.
would go run, he'd get in there and play drums.
Yeah.
And grab them.
So you said mini disc recorder. You're still using that, like in the recent past?
That was 2004. So that was in 2002 to 2003 into 2004. Listen, when some technology hits me that I love, which was the mini disc recorder, and I learned to use that, you almost had to pry it from my hands because I loved it so much. Because I was really in charge of, and I could also piece some stuff together from it. And I'm not an engineer, but that was probably the closest that I came. And then I would put some stuff on disc and go, Paul, this was you and me in my living room last year, and this is what we're going to do in 2 weeks with John. And so the guys would have this stuff, and I don't think loved that. However, when we were there,
I love it.
Doing it, then we did love it. You didn't know though at the beginning, right? Like we knew it was like, I don't know, like we didn't have everything planned.
Love that process though.
Yeah, and that is my favorite record still to this day. Fireworks and Karate Supplies was an organic building, and John Parrish made me write down like how I pictured it being. And I remember just having some T-Bone Burnett sounds in my head, and then some I think I had referenced one song from Robert Plant and Alison Krauss for just the vibe. It was like a washy, haunting, ethereal kind of thing. Rich Woman, when they did Rich Woman, I sent that to John Parrish, and he sent me back the original Rich Woman, which I can't remember who the artist was that originally did that, but he was on our page, and then he was so good about keeping us to the task. Like if we overdid something, he would say, sounds like a boss song now. We've gone too far. He's an artist, so he was a wonderful guy to work with. Yeah.
So what's coming up? What's the new, you got a new record coming? Do you have
I'm going to write some stuff with Paul, but I wrote some stuff with my old boss, who's piano player, Bill Mallers, because I had some stuff that I knew should be piano-based. And I kind of wrote it on guitar, and then I took it to Bill. We got through about 20 songs, and I think there are probably 5 of those that I feel super, super strongly about. I don't know where I'm going to do the next one. I'd love to do it here because flying to England is tasking and expensive. I did a Kickstarter for my last record, and that was like the most brilliant thing ever that anybody ever invented. It's like, because I always dip into my own money to pay for records, and it's hard.
It is. I've experienced the same thing.
Kickstarter, GoFundMe.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming in today, and you're going to play some music for us?
Yes, we're going to play some music for you.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in today.
Good luck with
Thanks for
this.
having us.
Thanks for having us. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you. And we'll be right back with Jennie DeVoe live. Next week on Moonshine and Music, Yadin Cole will be in the studio. This new, young, exciting artist is going to bring us some epic tunes, and here's what they sound like.
They will persecute your soul just for not doing what you're told. We will not buy the lies you sold. We are beauty, we are bold. We were all born to dance and sing. We are kings and we are queens. No one can come up in between what he has planned for you to be. Talking about true love. Talking about true love. Talking about true love. Talking about true love. Yeah, true love. True love, talking about true love. Take it away. They say there's a story no one will tell. Is the truth about heaven and hell. They say there's a man who will finally understand. When you find him, you know he's the one. There are whispers, it's true, and clouds in your view, but you blindly keep crawling along. So you drink from the cup, but it's never enough once you have found true love. They say there's magic so very tragic. You give up your life for true love. So badly, so very sadly, true love is a ruin of you. There are whispers, it's true, and clouds in your view, but you blindly keep crawling along. So you drink from the cup, but it's never enough once you have found true love. His name, but it's never the same. You can try, but you will not find joy. You can try to deny why you still cry. You just miss those kisses from that boy, 'cause there's a spell that you're under, and it leaves you to wonder why it cuts deep to your soul. Then you drink from the cup, but it's never enough once you found true love. Once you've tasted true love, and it's all in the name of true love.
Nice.
all those false starts meant that. I love that. Yeah. Is this distracting? Okay, because I can take it off if it is. Is this ridiculous?
No, that's cool.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And editing up.
I'm enamored with it. And my husband's like, he goes, are you going to be one of those ladies that when you're older, you're like, he's like, this is kind of Las Vegas. And I go, I think it's happening right now. I just think it's fun. Okay.
You ready?
Want us to do it again? Just keep going?
Yeah.
Okay, this is called Healer. And I wrote this with Paul. Well, I threw my back out, trying to please you, trying to figure out what your needs were. And I'm left with one question I think you can try to see. After all I've done for you, what the hell you done for me? And I need a healer to let me know if he can lift me up and take me home. I think you know that need a healer. Oh, I need a healer to take me home. I need a healer, just need a healer. Oh, I need a healer. Then I threw my heart out, trying to love ya, try put no one above ya. But I'm left with one question I think you can try to see. 'Cause baby, you got me down on my knees. And I need a healer to take me home, to lift me up, let me know. Oh, I think you know that need a healer, just need a healer. Oh, I need a healer, taking me home. I need a healer, just need a healer. Oh, I need a healer. Hey. Need a healer. Oh, I need a healer. Need a healer. Taking me home. Oh, I need a healer. Just need a healer. Oh, I need a healer. Take me home. I know a boy named Romeo. He's got it all, I know, 'cause he told me so. He got a heart made of concrete, iron and steel. And Romeo don't feel nothing that he don't wanna feel. Oh, you belong to me. You belong to me. Hey, you belong to me. You belong to me. Boy,
try to act so shy. You can just tell me you love me and that I have beautiful eyes. You belong to me. You belong to me. Oh, you belong to me. You belong to me. Boy, you have become the best part of me. Oh yeah, you belong to me. You belong to me. You are my destiny. My destiny. You are the one who set me free. You belong to me. So let me be the girl who brings your loving on home. Hey, we'll rescue each other, breaking that heart of yours, made of concrete and stone. You belong to me. You belong to me. Oh, you belong to me. You belong to me. Boy, you have become the best part of me. Hey, yeah, you belong to me. You belong to me. You are my destiny. My destiny. You are the one who is set me free. You belong to me. You belong to me. Oh, you belong to me. Hey, you are the one. Oh, who has set me free. You belong to me. You belong to me. Oh, you belong to me. You are the one. Oh, who has set me free. You belong to me. Hey, hey, hey,
Thank you, Jennie DeVoe and Paul Holdman. I appreciate you guys coming on the show so very much. It was just a wonderful program. It's been wonderful working with you guys, getting this show done. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today and for tuning into all the episodes. Please go watch the back episodes. Please subscribe to Moonshine and Music. You can do that on podcasts, on your podcaster, Podbean, iTunes podcast, all of that gypsy madness out there, or on YouTube. Please subscribe to us on YouTube. The video version of our show is always in full HD and has full HD quality audio, so you can hear it and you can project it up onto your 60-inch or your 55-inch or your 40-inch or 20-inch, whatever you want to put it on. Laptop, we don't care. iPhones, everybody watches it on their Android phone too. So anyway, I'm rambling, but I want to say thank you again for coming in and tuning in. Check us out next week when Yadin Cole will be here. Remember to go to eatnewmedia.com, our production company, and check out their wares, and if you need any video work done. And if you want to sponsor the show, get in touch with us, Joe at moonshineandmusic.com. Hey, I'll see you next week right here on Moonshine and Music. Moonshine and Music is a presentation of Eat New Media in association with Notlehs Entertainment. Producers for today's program are Brandon Lay and Joe Shelton. Be sure to join us next time on Moonshine and Music.